If we don't get a deal by next week, essential services are going to go down. Our defense systems could fail. China could attack at any time if we don't get this budget going. We're not going to run out of money, guys. That is such a scare tactic, political grandstanding bullshit, okay? We're not going to run out of money. We're not going to default, okay? The world is not going to call in their debts on us, okay? Literally, where else is people going to, what other currency are people going to base their stuff off of? What are you going to do? Oh, the credit rating of the US has gone down. Let's use the fucking lira as the global currency that we utilize for, you know, economic strength. Let's go after the yen. Let's the rupee. I mean, come on. Guys, that's not how it's going to work. You have to understand, belief in the dollar is not going anywhere. All good things come to an end eventually. Yes, America will collapse eventually. The Roman Empire did. Everybody does. I mean, the UK did. I mean, every society collapses because of debt. All right? What ends up happening... Okay, let me tell you what happens historically. Okay, a little history lesson for you guys. I look short with this camera angle. All right, let me tell you how every society has collapsed. By overextending themselves. Okay? Now, obviously, times change, but history repeats itself. So, whether you go back to the Greeks, the Persians, Romans, we'll call it the British Empire. Okay, what ends up happening is that they build empires and they spend so much time and so much money and so much effort expanding and pushing their income and their revenue, their time and everything out that they end up collapsing because they just can't afford to keep it up. And so that's why they all end up consolidating, right? So that's going to happen eventually. But the difference is now is that, you know, we're talking about global economies that are intertwined. So now it's not so much one destroys the other. Everybody has to work together now, or else everybody goes down. Now, the US dollar strength, I don't care what the DXY says on a day-to-day basis, okay? The dollar is the reserve currency of the world. It is. And until that changes, we're not going to default. If we can't get the debt ceiling raised or like that, we just go to the Fed, okay? And if the Fed doesn't take it, the U.S. government will issue bonds, okay, to the public until the rate goes to zero, nobody wants to buy the bonds, and then some other foreign government or some other establishment will come by. And because until the U.S. doesn't have the reserve currency or isn't considered the tip of the spear, as it were, economically, everyone's still going to do this. I mean, the world still trades oil on the petrodollar. It's what it is, okay? Now, I understand that everyone is freaking out about debt ceiling and freaking out about defaulting and we're going to run out of cash. I've told you guys this before, and I will tell you this again, okay? We are not going to run out of money, okay? This has happened. For those of you guys who are new to the market, new to economies, economics, and finance, this is all scary to you. I've been through this a dozen times, okay? We are not going to run out of money. Every time the same thing happens. We need to raise the debt ceiling, or we need a budget. And whatever controlling party uses this as political fodder to say, we have a bill to do this, but the other side won't work with us. When in reality, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, they're just trying to push their agenda through, and it doesn't matter what the other side does, because if they don't comply, it's their fault, right? And then the other side will say the same thing. And here's what happens. We get to the 12th hour, we get to midnight, right? We get 1 minute before midnight on the doomsday clock, okay? And we don't have a deal. So we have to shut down the government. We have to shut down the government. Guys, they're not going to stop picking up your trash. They're not going to cut off your light. Your bills will get paid. The grocery store will still have groceries. Your bank, no one's doing a run on a bank. Okay? All right? Here's what happens with a government shutdown. They end up furloughing 400,000. This will be the number. You'll see it next month. Non-essential federal employees. Okay? They won't call them non-essential. They'll just say federal employees. And they'll say, we had to send these people home. We can't afford to pay them. Well, first of all, they're fucking non-essential, so why is my tax dollars paying for them anyways? But forget that argument for a second. These people are going to get a paid vacation. Let me tell you what happens. These guys go home for a couple of weeks to a month, then they come back and they get back pay. They get a paid vacation. But they're used as political fodder depending on who's in charge. So now, when the headlines pick up, the government has shut down. 400,000 federal employees have been laid off. Now the heat starts picking up. Now the news cycles, depending on what side they lean, start drumming up the fear-mongering. The Democrats need to play ball. The Republicans are being selfish. The moderates are bringing this country down. And then they start picking up more fear-mongering. If we don't get a deal by next week, essential services are going to go down. Our defense systems could fail. China could attack at any time if we don't get this budget going. This is bullshit, guys. And then what happens is after this happens, they don't come to agreement. Then they do come into an agreement, but not to fix the budget or to raise the debt ceiling, but to do what's called a continuation. Basically, they don't vote on anything new. They just vote to extend what's already in place. And then they do their backdoor deals and they pull out a bill that's 16,000 pages with earmarks for every goddamn spending thing you could imagine. And then when everybody gets theirs, they all vote for it. They're not voting for the other 15,000 pages. They're voting for their page. Everybody gets their own page. And then we vote on it, we pass it, and then we kick the can down, and then this happens again. This is what's going to happen. We are not going to run out of cash. The Treasury's not going to run out of fucking cash. They have ink, they have printers. And Yellen is the former Federal Reserve Chair, and her buddy, the current Federal Reserve Chair, she'll call up and say, can you buy up another 120 billion? Cool. Everything is political theater, guys. Everything is political theater. We are not going to default. We are not going to get a credit rating drop. Sure, one of the global credit ratings will drop us from a AAA to a AA, and everybody will freak out, and then the treasuries will spike, and the dollar will fall, and everything like that. But it doesn't actually change anything until the EU goes and says, you know what? Germany, I have the idea. And they'll be like, oh, you have the idea, yes? What is your idea? I believe that we should use the rupee as our currency to back it. What do you think, Italy? I don't know. I can't afford to get the pasta and the pizza here. Have you seen the price of the tomatoes? The supply chain, it is killing me. I don't care who we use. I just need the better tomatoes. And then the French guy will be like, I do not understand what you are saying, but you have good wine. Yes. And then the Germans will be like, oh, yeah, Oktoberfest is in September. But we still call it Oktoberfest, yeah. And then the Welsh come in, they're like, and then everybody doesn't understand what's going on. Okay, so they're not going to do that. We are going to continue to have the reserve currency. It's not going to change. All right, listen, it's like my wife. It's not a big deal, guys. Think of the credit rating system, okay? Like my wife. I married her, right? We had a kid, okay? Still, you know what I mean? It's not like it's the end of all things. You know what I mean? Like, kidding, babe. Babe, I'm kidding. It's for content. I swear to God. I'm just joking. It's content. I love you. You're beautiful. Okay. All right. I feel like you're drastically underestimating. Underestimating what? Remember, I'm explaining this in a very TLDR to people who don't understand how this works. Everything is more complicated. Everything is more complicated. Okay? Everything is more complicated.
Welcome,
but I have
to the Bear Gang.
I have to, do it in a position where I explain the bare bones minimum. so that everybody can kind of understand at least where I'm coming from.